Hey guys, this is Anime Ballsy here, and today we're going to be doing the 6th part to What If Bardock was like Dr. GERO. Please like the video if you haven't already and subscribe. It's totally free and you can unsubscribe whenever you want. There's nothing much else I'd like to say in the intro, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
Slick talker since a jet. Wintertime, all the time, ooh, yeah. Look at the way that I move, swag, disrespectful and I'm rude, okay. I had cocaine in the school.
Majin Buu continues getting broken down until the fight is nearly over. Tien just continues going and doesn't really know when to stop. He heard of Shin explaining to him that Buu has better durability than expected. He doesn't die from punches through the chest or things of a similar nature that would kill others. Therefore, he wants to make sure that he gets the job done now. After his firing ceases, nothing is left of Buu, not even a single remnant of him. After constantly firing that blast at such a high intensity, he gave Buu no time to regenerate and just made his physical state worse with every passing second. Majin Buu has been totally defeated. That's all they need to hear. The Kais are overjoyed to find that Babidi's plans are foiled, but someone else doesn't look too happy. Kakarot looks around with a coldly straight face before flying off without a word. Bardock then receives some tragic news. No, how could this be? How did Vegeta defeat him? Bardock asks his suit, catching the attention of the surrounding warriors. They thought Raditz would be done with him in no time, then return to the group to join the fight again. Kakarot flies through the skies, with tears flowing down the sides of his face as he zooms forward in Golden Super Saiyan. Landing, he sends a bunch of rocks flying up and locks eyes with Majin Vegeta. His eyes twitch, and he turns to Raditz, who is coughing out blood not too far from death. An autonomous bar of Bardock's creation comes storming down and tends to the fighter, and Kakarot gives his brother some of his own ki to also help with the recovery. His shouts of pain and torment fade for a short time, but the bot reiterates to them that he is not stabilizing. "What did you do?" Kakarot shouts, turning back to Vegeta. "I did what I should have a long time ago." Before he can finish off that sentence, Kakarot launches multiple laser-like blasts of ki through his body, killing him. He falls totally still overwhelmed by what he's just done. "I'm sorry to tell you, sir, but your brother has passed," the bot announces. Kakarot then just looks at the ground. This can't be. Bulma is in shock at what her husband ended up doing, and Nappa just feels so bad for them. He thought that Vegeta was over it, but from how he was acting, that clearly wasn't true. Of course, if he didn't become a Majin, this might not have happened, but all it took was that little transformation for his whole mentality to change. He still held on to it. He couldn't shake off that sense of inferiority he always felt. Unlike Goku and Kanon, who is pure of heart, Raditz and Vegeta do not receive bodies. They're left in hell amongst the others that reside there. Back on Earth though, they're determined to revive them. Mr. Popo speaks of the planet that Kami hailed from and his ability to create magic balls. Maybe someone else living on that planet could have that ability and grant them a wish to revive their friends. Kakarot hopes this is true. However, they need a spaceship. Bardock can survive in space with his suit, but not for long. He'd have to make routine stops to nearby planets to eat food and rejuvenate himself. That's when Kakarot tests something. He has some of Frieza's DNA, Bardock told him, and Frieza doesn't need air to breathe. Rising past the atmosphere, Kakarot can't help but laugh. He stops breathing, but there's no pain. He can just stay up here as long as he likes. This gives them a lot of hope. To be honest, they don't need anyone else to tag along with them, so the father-son duo head on their way by themselves. Since they're not carrying any humans along with them, they can just enter space alone without a spaceship. The great thing about space is that once they start flying, they just continue going at that speed. It's pretty much a vacuum, so there's no resistance as they fly. This also allows them to travel way faster than they could have ever done back on Earth. The two Saiyans arrive on Namek and Kakarot is in awe at the serene atmosphere, the lush blue grass, the flowing green waters. Bardock was a spacefaring warrior back in his time. He saw many more beautiful planets than this one. However, their mission isn't to just stand here and take everything in. They need to find a way to bring back Raditz. "Find your way around this planet, show me what you find. Look for the Dragon Balls as well," Bardock explains, letting out a swarm of small bots into the sky. They survey the area to try and find anything and do an amazing job at that. It takes a while for the bots to travel across the large planet, but they find a lot of things. They soon find Guru, who agrees to let them use the Dragon Balls. You can tell there is evil within them, but they have good intentions. They gather the Dragon Balls and revive Raditz, and also revive Vegeta. With the final wish, Bardock chooses to do something about his age. "Make me physically half my age." Now nothing much happens. It might just make it harder for him to grow a beard and things like that, but the main difference will be when the fast Saiyan aging process will begin. With his age halved, it will start way later. After this, the two Saiyans leave and peace is returned to Earth. After a good few years, Beerus awakes and heads to Earth to meet the Saiyans there. He arrives at Bulma's birthday party on the cruise ship. He completely ruins it looking for the Super Saiyan God. Just like in canon, Vegeta is the first one to go up to him. However, Beerus is not buying it, not one bit. The two fighters stand against each other on the boat before lifting into flight. Beerus signals for him to advance, and the Saiyan Prince does just that. Dashing forward, he powers up into Super Saiyan and aims for an elbow. Beerus evades, then lands a swift hook to the side of his body that rattles him. Vegeta makes sure to fall back after this, now hauling his side as well. "You're going to need to put more effort in to hit me, Super Saiyan God," Beerus says, in a mocking tone. Vegeta isn't willing to take this, and powers up into his Super Saiyan 2 form. His aura now has crackling electricity, and his power level has doubled on the spot. Charging forward with both arms aimed ahead, he cocks back his right fist, then throws. Beerus yet again dodges and lifts over his attack before dropping both of his legs onto his back. The attack holds great strength and leaves the Saiyan rattled. He can feel the force of the strike distribute through his whole body, and it's a rather unsettling feeling. It just lets him know how strong this god really is. Looking up and at the god, it's clear he isn't even trying. His breathing hasn't intensified, he sees no movement in his chest, he's as calm as ever. Vegeta then takes things up a notch, going for 100%. Those on the boat know what's about to happen, then signal for the boat to change direction. They know that this transformation will be quite the turbulent one. Super Saiyan 3 is not just a strong but unstable form, it's incredibly hard to master, and no Saiyan on Earth has come close to doing that yet. As a result, a lot of ki leaks and damages the surroundings. Vegeta screams at the top of his lungs and activates his strongest form. His frame looks more muscular and athletic than before, and his face is way stiller and more focused. He flies up, spinning laterally as he does so, and throws out a kick. It lands square on Beerus' chest and creates some distance between the fighters. However, its efficacy seems limited to only this. He doesn't dwell over it and just continues. He throws a series of attacks, and you can tell that they're good. He's throwing them with his usual technique and effort, and can see they're about as fast as usual. The only difference is that they're not landing or even getting remotely near Beerus. The god taps away one of his punches before finger flicking him on his forehead. This single attack launches him back, and he travels away with haste. He ends up stopping about 40 meters away, holding his head. Once he pulls his hand away, he can see a large amount of blood in it. Soon he feels it dripping down his nose and beside his mouth. Just what monstrous power does this god possess? Nevertheless, Vegeta powers on. He's a warrior. A painful finger flick isn't going to stop him. However, he still can't do anything to Beerus. Even when he tries to be as fast as possible, sacrificing fluidity and technique, it does nothing. Beerus arrives behind him and lands a firm neck chop that knocks him clean out. Vegeta, knocked out, falls into the waters beside the ship, and Bulma is horrified. She screams out with horror and fear, but the others console her and assure her that Vegeta is not dead. It looked like that, but they can sense his heat signature and it isn't fading. Kakarot looks into the water and remembers his time out in space. He could survive without air or even air pressure around him, and so he thinks he could be fine underwater. Diving into it, he flies through it to grab Vegeta and raise him out. As he does so, he can't stop looking at Beerus. After being Earth's strongest warrior for such a long time, he hasn't really had a good fight. Even when BARDOCK uses all of his witty technology, it isn't enough. He can use his battle intelligence and power to eventually subdue him. This is the best chance that he'll ever have of getting a good fight. Beerus lands back on the boat, and everyone is looking at him a little differently. Everyone except Kakarot are a little startled by the god's presence. He is extremely strong, and if he acts out, then they're all pretty much toast. If you want a better fight, you should be fighting him instead, Raditz says, pointing to Kakarot. Are you sure? I didn't see the Super Saiyan God form I was hoping for. If you don't have a form that looks vastly different from what I just saw, I'm not interested, Beerus says. No, don't worry, I'm way stronger than Vegeta. My form's a little different too, Kakarot claims. Vegeta goes up to try and attack him, but is stopped by Nappa, who is currently holding him up. Beerus waves his hand for him to start, and Kakarot does just that. He lifts up into flight and begins his own transformation. Just like with Vegeta's, it's chaotic and releases a lot of ki, but releases less. This is because he has significantly more control over it, even if he hasn't mastered it. He unlocked the form several years before Vegeta did. And of course, as we know, Kakarot is more talented than Vegeta. Moreover, he has Frieza's DNA to supplement this, meaning that he can make progress way faster than the other Saiyans. The two fighters begin yet again, and Beerus can immediately see what Raditz was talking about. Kakarot speeds forward and flips forward before driving his heel toward Beerus. The god doesn't get hit by such a flamboyant attack, sliding past it with his arm still behind his back. Kakarot continues on though and stays resilient. Kakarot goes in to land a bog standard punch, but flies around him and kicks him in his back. Its attack lands, but purely because Beerus allowed it to. This gives him a significant amount of confidence, and even the others down on the cruise are surprised to see this. They just saw Vegeta get nowhere near him, and now Kakarot is doing far better. Kakarot throws forward an elbow, then drives up an uppercut, but Beerus blocks both attacks. After this, he lands a straight jab to the Saiyan's head. It lands on his forehead and nearly knocks him out. He can see his vision swaying, and he even starts descending from losing control of his flight. However, the Saiyan launches out a ki blast to try and keep distance. The ki blast fires out, but Beerus just slips past it. He Even if Kakarot had slightly better chance, it's not enough. He ends up getting punched again, then takes a kick to his side. These 3 attacks alone are sufficient to take Goku down, and now they work toward getting the Super Saiyan God ritual done. They haven't got Dragon Balls on Earth for this, and therefore they have to go to Namek. Whis offers to take them there, and so it takes them under a minute to get there and back. Here they perform the ritual, and they have more than enough Saiyans for the job. Nappa, Vegeta, Raditz, Bardock, Gohan and Kakarot are all they need and the job is done. Kakarot's hair turns to a pale red and his aura becomes fiery, but this is not the extent to his transformation. He lands, but then falls to a knee, clutching his chest in pain. They wonder what is happening and the other Saiyans rush to his aid. However, Kakarot rises up with his hand raised out to show that he's okay. With his hand out though, he tightens it into a fist and begins shouting. His hair starts raising and his aura becomes chaotic and intense. Those around him wonder what is happening now. It's nothing like what they were expecting. Shenron didn't tell them anything about this. Kakarot's hair rises and his hair starts changing to an orange hue. His aura follows this same colour shift and his aura suddenly blasts outward. Once it calms, Kakarot does as well. He then looks at this new form of his in surprise. "Is this what you were looking for?" Kakarot asks. "To be honest, I saw a red form, but this is more than good enough. Shall we begin?" Beerus asks. The fight begins again and things are immediately different. Kakarot can feel it in himself. The power rushing through him is something else. Kakarot's fist barrels through the air and creates a shockwave just from its trajectory. Beerus can't help but smile upon seeing this first punch coming his way. This is exactly what he had come here for. Beerus blocks the hit with his forearm and can actually feel the force behind it. It isn't pain or aching of any sort, of course not, but it's something. Kakarot does not stop there though and swings in for a kick. You can feel that he is significantly stronger and is working to make himself more confident. This means he's not going to shy away from any attack even if they don't land or deal damage. He knows that trying to be a perfectionist now will not win him the battle. Beerus blocks this as well before slamming his palm onto Kakarot's chest. It knocks the wind out of him, but he falls back and takes a few deep breaths to handle the pain. It hurt him, but he didn't feel out of the game like before. Speeding forward, the fight continues and both fighters are elated. This is exactly what both fighters came here for. Beerus has a smirk and Kakarot is literally smiling from ear to ear. "You're doing well, Saiyan, but you're still only fighting me at a fraction of my strength. I expected more from you," Beerus states. "Yeah, I wasn't going all out either, to be honest," Kakarot replies. This makes the god furious. Why would this mortal be holding back against him? This is preposterous and quite frankly disrespectful. Beerus grits his teeth and begins the fight again, punching Kakarot clean in his jaw. He aims for another attack, but Kakarot swiftly flies over his extended leg and arrives behind him. It lands cleanly, but doesn't cause any noteworthy damage. The god turns and lands a strong neck chop, leaving Kakarot to cough out spit and blood. Subsequently, he lands a powerful side kick and launches him more than 50 meters away. The fight continues and Beerus simply has the upper hand. No matter how hard Kakarot tries, he just can't win. The task of beating Beerus seems insurmountable now. They work their way into the upper areas of the atmosphere, but the Saiyan isn't bothered by the thin air surrounding him. With his Frieza DNA, it means that the thinner air doesn't affect his performance or well-being. "You fought well for a mortal Saiyan, however you are well below what I came here expecting. As a result, I will get rid of the planet that you know and love," Beerus says, throwing his hand to the planet. "No, you're not serious, are you?" Kakarot asks. Beerus doesn't reply and just creates a ki blast. This is when he realizes that he isn't lying at all. He thinks back to how the old Saiyans used to act and it makes a lot of sense to him. Certain people out there don't see anything wrong with destroying planets, killing innocents and more. Some people are just like that. This makes Kakarot angry though. He isn't totally aware that it's kind of Beerus' job, but then again he wouldn't care. Down there is everything that he's loved, everything that he's built for himself. He's fought to the death on that planet numerous times to protect the inhabitants and nothing will stop him from doing that once again. Kakarot can feel himself growing rageful and from his past he knows that this means power, ultimate power. Therefore he lets it all out, he lets his mind go haywire, he lets the rage command his every thought and action. The ki blast has now turned into something terribly different. It's large and clearly powerful enough to destroy the whole planet. Meanwhile Kakarot is changing, he's finding something more. Kakarot has a vein up the side of his neck from shouting so loudly and vehemently, and his hair changes colour. It switches to red and then darkens to a blood red hue. His aura switches to a fiery colour but then darkens to that same colour. The pupils in his eyes vanish and he darts forward. Charging headfirst into the large planet buster, he destroys it by slamming into it. It bursts apart and Kakarot looks straight at Beerus with his pupilless eyes. This confuses him. How has he completely changed appearance and also demeanour? What form is there above the Super Saiyan God form? Not only that, but how has he unlocked such form in 30 minutes? This confusion soon fizzles out and is replaced by excitement. Just what does he have in store for him now? Kakarot roars and flies straight toward Beerus, throwing a powerful punch. It lands cleanly on his chest and knocks out one of his teeth from the attack. Beerus is also knocked back several meters, then the Saiyan continues. He drives an uppercut into his gut before following with another punch. Each punch carries ferocity and insane power beyond what Beerus was anticipating. Kakarot kicks Beerus toward the earth, then pulls back his hands to charge his Kamehameha. His ball of energy for the blast isn't the usual blue, but instead a dark red, almost black. He fires down the blast toward Beerus, and it's an intense energy wave that Beerus is forced to catch right up. He tussles with it, and it's hard to even keep at bay. This is certainly something he wasn't expecting. He looks back, seeing the earth gradually growing larger. He's actually getting pushed back. No, the god won't stand for this. He won't be humiliated like this. He's been holding back, but the Saiyan is going to get a taste of a god's true power. He pushes into the blast as hard as he can and disintegrates it. Kakarot's rageful face falls slump and still. This he's never seen before. He was expecting him to maybe push past the blast or tap it away with his strength, but this is something else. Beerus darts forward, leaving a clean purple trail in his wake, and strikes Kakarot cleanly in his chest. The punch is enough to knock him out cold. It shakes himself up completely, and he's left to slowly fall back towards the earth. Before he can fully fall down there though, Beerus catches him. He remains silent and just looks at him. What sort of Saiyan is he? How are the Saiyans under Frieza if they've birthed someone of this caliber? Anyways, he returns to Earth and says that he's impressed. He hides his true feelings and everything of that sort, but makes sure to elaborate what happened to Whis. The Saiyan showed me this odd form of his hair went dark red, then he became immensely powerful. He lost his head and became like a beast, but it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. How was he able to do that? Beerus wonders. Not only that, but he was fine in space. He just stopped breathing, but it didn't look like it affected him, Beerus adds. Very peculiar. Whis can't give a concrete answer right now, but he will make sure to look into it. After this point, the Saiyans soon end up training under Whis. The prospect of getting God Ki for themselves and training up is simply too great of a prospect for them to miss up on. Bardock doesn't aim to stay on the planet for long though. He might have the body of a Saiyan half his age, but he doesn't have the same mind. After living for so long and fighting in countless battles, the idea of fighting strong foes is getting less and less interesting. He loves spending time with Gohan and Goten, his beautiful grandkids, and his wife while also working on his technology. It gives him a sense of true fulfillment, something he never thought he'd get as a soldier under Frieza. It's amazing, but God Ki has opened several new doors for him. He's normally used Ki to power his suit and other things, but once God Ki enters the equation, everything gets way better. His suit immediately becomes significantly more powerful, and there are also other effects. The usual shockwave that he uses in the suit becomes intensely powerful, capable of forming craters and even rupturing eardrums. Not only that, but his ultimate attack can be charged instantly and has grown more destructive. With a more powerful suit and technology, he ends up with another mission after his time training under Whis. He'll send bots across the galaxy in search for stronger, more durable metals to form his next suit, his ultimate creation. Not only that, but he'll use them in the creation of other AI models to make them even more intelligent and useful. For now though, he's learning under Whis and is making astounding progress, just like the others. With a bit of genetic manipulation and great care, he grows his very own senzu bean tree on the planet and is of great use to the others. The tree of luscious blue beans accelerates their progress greatly and makes the training a whole lot more enjoyable since they don't get bogged down with soreness and fatigue for too long. During this time, someone is revived using the Dragon Balls on Namek, Frieza. He returns to the role of Emperor with his now smaller empire but aims immediately for Earth. He's here to not just restore the state he was ahead of, but to restore his honor, to get revenge on the Saiyans, particularly Kakarot. He thinks of those piercing golden eyes, those disdainful eyes. He cannot wait to get revenge, to get back at that Saiyan for all that he has done. He arrives on the planet and releases his army. However, what they meet is something they weren't expecting. A group of robots arrive and the soldiers don't look too scared at first. Autonomous bots of this level aren't seen in other planets, so they don't expect much. They're normally used for just basic labor and homely duties, not in battle like this. At least that's how it is in other areas of Frieza's empire. The first group of soldiers storm forward toward one, but are all destroyed by a single sound shockwave. There is rupture, but not only that, their organs and things vibrate around. It causes internal bleeding and crippling nausea, taking them out completely. The small group of bots easily handle the much larger group of soldiers, reducing their numbers at alarming pace. A bot grabs one soldier to immediately pull their arms behind their back and slam them down. Right after, the sky lights up as if the sun's had a supernova. They can't understand what is happening at first, and many of them become blinded. Even Frieza does as well. Then a golden blast comes firing down and takes out at least 100 soldiers. Then a single small golden ki blast fires around them with immense speed. It's almost impossible to see when it moves, and each strike into the soldiers either gravely harms them or kills them. The three humans, the golden trio, Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha. Yamcha's spirit ball continues to take out soldier after soldier, then Tien launches his Neo Tri-Beam once again. It has a very wide blast zone and as a result takes out at least 500 soldiers. It's incredible to see, and everyone is gone very soon after these three arrive. The only soldiers left are Frieza's new right hand men, Shisami and Tagoma. The two men stand forward and Tien wants to take them both on. Shisami begins, bulling toward the human. As he cocks back his fist and shouts, aiming to throw, Tien dips slightly to watch the fist fly right over him. In that same moment, he lands a clean punch to his chest that goes straight through him. In one clean movement, the man is dead and gone. This leaves only Tagoma, but Tien doesn't want to even waste time on him. If Shisami was as weak as he was, what's stopping Tagoma from being that uninteresting? He hurls forward an intense Ki blast, a simple wave of Ki and wind. Just this blast breaks the man's armor and sends him sliding back along the grassland. He falls to a knee after the Ki blast is done, then ends up falling down completely. Just that blast knocked him out and Frieza is quite frankly appalled. Aiming down two fingers, he launches his signature death beam and kills him. Without a second thought, he turns his attention to the warriors before him. He steps out his pod and walks forward while the other warriors do not falter and fall back. No, they stand their ground until they're only about a meter from each other. I'm surprised you warriors haven't retreated. What do you possess to wield such confidence? He asks, with his hands behind his back. Krillin reveals his Destructo Disc and throws it at the Emperor to begin. He dips under it once he sees it coming, but it slices his entire pod in half. It also shaves off a large portion of the cliff edge behind them. Yamcha then charges forward and makes his hands resemble claws, his Wolf-Fang fist. His hands swiftly move, turning into blurs from the immense speed. He's worked and worked to perfect this attack and it does surprisingly well. Frieza dodges the first two hits but is caught by the third to his face, then the fourth to his chest. Yamcha continues and lands about half of the attacks that were thrown and leaves a minor bruise on Frieza's face after he's done. Tien lifts in fly over Yamcha, cocking back both hands before firing his concentrated Dodon Ray. It's not as strong as his signature move and so Frieza manages to catch it. It causes him to slide back and dig his feet into the ground, but he hauls it away at the last second. It's not a graceful movement at all and he slams his back on the floor in the process. Springing up to his feet, it's what Tien does next that alarms him. He places his hands into a triangular formation and his arms suddenly tense up and look more vascular than normal. Neo Tri-Beam, he bellows, firing the Tri-Beam at his target. The other two humans immediately retreat and this gives Frieza a very bad sign. Just what has he gotten into here? The blast fires down, and it's not a blast that can be caught. It looks translucent and doesn't have a solid energy beam, so he holds his arm up in an X to block it as much as he can, but it does very little. Him and the entire area light up in a bright light from the massive explosion, and the damage area even reaches the edge of the cliff. Frieza is revealed with only minor injuries. Now he's in his final form. He made sure to transform while receiving that blow, and it's at the grace of his training that he was able to do so under such stress. Flies up to Tien and lands a single punch that knocks him out. Looking down to Krillin, he opens his eyes and launches beams of Ki from them and pierces his arm and chest, knocking him down. Then he looks to Yamcha and tries to kill him with a proper Ki blast, but once it explodes it reveals an untouched Yamcha. It exploded before it could hit him and it's confusing. There was nothing but air between the Emperor and his intended target. Once he looks up, he identifies the cause. Not only that, but his face exudes rage and annoyance, even through the neutral expression. The group of Saiyans stand together, with Kakarot's hand up after he intercepted the blast. "Hello again, Frieza. I thought I'd never see you again," Kakarot says, walking forward. Frieza doesn't have any words for this man. Why would he? It's a little worse than in the canon since he was brutally humiliated. In front of his father, it wasn't future Trunks that took him down but Kakarot again. There are members of his empire that don't have as much respect for him after Kakarot embarrassed him in front of them. They only answered to him purely because of fear, not true respect. Kakarot agrees to face him again and states he won't even need a transformation to take him down like in canon. The two fighters charge at each other and land simultaneous punches. However, Kakarot's hit does way more damage. It's not even close. Kakarot felt a tickle from Frieza's hit, but the Emperor coughs out blood and a lost tooth. He then takes a punch to his gut that drops him right to his knees. "Wow, this is all you came here with." Very disappointed Emperor Frieza. Very disappointed, Kakarot states. Frieza then looks up and smiles. "It luckily isn't all I came here with, saying. Allow me to show you," Frieza says, extending both arms. This is when he reveals his new form, Golden Frieza. He smiles and drops his hands again and Kakarot's smile fades. Right after, he takes a punch to the face and a subsequent kick to the gut. Before he can fall, Frieza grabs the neck of his shirt to lift him and hurl him overhead and into the ground. He harshly lands, but rolls and rises back up to his feet. This only leads him to getting hit again. The beatdown is brutal and Frieza is literally having the time of his life. He is the Emperor, he's the best. Now he's only affirming those claims once again and he's overjoyed. Frieza walks slowly to a beaten Kakarot, wiping the blood from his mouth. He slowly stands up and holds his side before tightening his fists. He shouts and his hair rises and turns to gold. However, it switches to brown and his aura darkens as well, with a few flickers of purple energy within it. He shouts and reveals a totally new form, Black Super Saiyan. A combination of the black form from Frieza's DNA and Super Saiyan with a whopping 10,000 times multiplier, a 20 times multiplier on the golden Super Saiyan form. Frieza isn't scared here, just a little confused, since he hasn't seen the form. After that fight, his ego is now swollen. He doesn't care about what Kakarot shows him because in his mind, he is the best and nothing can stop that. Well, that's what he thinks. Kakarot speeds forward and leaves Frieza frozen. He's become a complete blur. He lands a devastating uppercut that launches the Emperor into the air. Then he flies up, adding some flair to it by flying around him in a circular motion while still going up. He lands a strong elbow to send Frieza rocketing back down, then aims down a one-hand energy wave. Frieza just about manages to change his position in the air but is forced to take the energy wave anyway. He can't even pull his arms up in time and takes the powerful blast. It shaves off the entire cliff edge and also creates massive waves in the adjacent waters. It's a short blast, but that's all it takes. Kakarot leaps off the cliff edge and lands on the shore to find a heavily injured Frieza there. He's already reverted back to his final form, and then someone else lands in front of him, Vegeta. "Let me finish this one, Kakarot," Vegeta says back. He says this not in the usual arrogant tone we've come to associate with Vegeta, but a calmer one, a more neutral, focused one. Frieza slowly rises up and holds his side while his legs tremble under just his own weight. "Wait, Vegeta, this is not what you want. I can give you riches beyond your wildest dreams. You can become my right-hand man. Billions, no hundreds of billions of people could answer to your every command," Frieza pleads. Kakarot chuckles once he hears this. Maybe an earlier version of Vegeta would have taken head of that proposition. Now he's beyond such things. "It doesn't matter about what I want. You destroyed my planet and destroyed my people. You destroyed the planet that I was destined to rule over. It is not my desire to kill you, it's my duty," Vegeta explains. Lifting his hand up to his head, he promptly launches his blast. Kakarot flies out the way and the headless Frieza falls, dead and gone. So that will conclude the 6th part of What If Bardock Was Like Dr. GERO. Please tell me something you liked about this part or something that I should improve on for the next one. Thanks so much for watching and I will see you in the next video.